Hi friends! In this 30-minute power yoga class, we're going to be targeting and toning our arms and shoulders, lower body, those abdominal muscles, and the back. This full body yoga class will hopefully leave you feeling strong, energized, and ready to tackle new challenges both physically and mentally. If you're ready, please join me on the mat. Hi there, I'm Chelsea with Ascend Your Asana Yoga, and we're going to get started in today's class in a mountain pose. So bring your feet hip distance apart and allow your arms to hang heavy at your sides. Palms open to the front. You can allow your eyelids to gently close and allow your face to soften. Try to find that center of gravity where your weight's not too far forward and not too far back. Just right over your midline. And bring your attention to your breath. Let's take a deep inhale, arms rise up to the sky, and exhale, lower down. One more deep inhale, arms up to the sky, and exhale, release. One more deep inhale. This time bring that right foot behind the left and stretch it over to the left side. Exhale back, deep inhale up over to the right side now. Left leg behind the right. Breathe life into that side body and release. We're going to step to the front of our mat and do a sun salutation. So let's take a deep inhale, arms up to the sky, and exhale, swan dive forward into that forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, release, step or jump into chaturanga. Inhale into upward facing dog. And then exhale, send your hips back into that downward facing dog. Feel free to gently pedal out your knees at this time if you need to. Really feeling that stretch through those hamstrings. And when you're ready, bring your gaze forward and step or jump into that forward fold again. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, vertebrae by vertebrae, round up to standing. Inhale, arms up to the sky. And exhale, swan dive forward once again. Inhale into that halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. This time we're going to alternate stretching one arm up to the sky. So inhale that right arm up, gaze high. Exhale, release. Inhale, left arm up, release. Continue this movement coming into a flat back as you lift up, and then sinking and folding forward as you release back down. Moving with your breath. Now keeping those fingers tented, let's exhale, weight into our hands and come onto our toes, and then inhale, peel those toes off the mat onto our heels. Exhale, push our weight into our arms. Inhale onto those heels. Exhale onto those toes. And then release onto those heels. This time, let's alternate popping one foot up. Inhale back down to the heels. Exhale, push the weight into the hands. Bring that right foot up, tapping that heel to the glutes if you can. Release back down. Exhale, left leg up. Release, stretching it back. Right foot pops off the mat now. Release. Left. Let's do one more now. Let's pop that right heel up and release down. Great job. Now ground through that right leg and sweep that left leg back into Warrior 3. Only for a moment, we're going to drive that left knee forward as we sweep our arms back. Inhale into Warrior 3 again. Exhale, drive that knee forward, arms sweeping behind the body. Continue this movement, really strong right leg here. Slight bend in that right knee to keep your balance. Keep that core engaged as you drive that left knee forward. Pause here a moment. Bring those arms in prayer at heart center, and let's pulse that left leg up to the sky if you can. Pulse, 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 and One last pulse. And let's release coming into Warrior Two. Excellent job. Gaze over those front fingertips. Now release into Revolved Warrior. Hold here one moment before releasing and sweeping over to the left side in this lateral lunge. Now drop your hands to the mat and release your left leg and arm up to the ceiling in this side plank. And see if you can do these leg abductions by pulsing that left leg up towards the sky and then back towards your right leg. Keeping those hips held high if you can. You can do this movement, or you can just leave that left leg stacked over the right if this is too much. But if it's not, try crunching your elbow and your knee together now in this nice side plank crunch. So extend that arm and that leg and then crunch them towards each other. Keeping your balance, it can get a little hard sometimes. Crunch it in and then extend. Now release that hand to the mat, one-legged chaturanga. Inhale into upward facing dog. And then exhale, send those hips back into downward facing dog. Excellent job. Let's pause a moment here to connect back with our breath. Bring our heart rate down before continuing onto the other side. Now let's bring our gaze between our fingertips and jump forward. Inhale into halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Vertebrae by vertebrae, let's round up. Deep inhale, arms up to the sky. Exhale, palms in prayer at heart center. Now let's ground through that left leg as we extend that right leg back into Warrior Three. Crunch that right knee forward. Inhale, exhale, crunch, sweeping those arms behind the body. Inhale, Warrior Three. Exhale, crunch. Nice fluid movements. Partnering these up with your breath here. Exhale, crunch it forward, and then inhale, Warrior Three. Pause a moment, bring your hands to heart center, and let's start those leg pulses to the sky. Pulse, pulse. Nice bend in that left knee. Let's pulse it up, really engaging those glutes before dropping into Warrior Two again. Gaze over those left fingertips. Let's flip that grip, send it back into Warrior Two. Deep inhale. And then on your exhale, let's sweep it over to the right side now in this lateral lunge. Release our hands to the mat. And then let's extend that right arm and leg up to the sky in this side plank. See if you can do these leg abductions again, bringing that right leg up to the ceiling and then back to tap the left. Keeping those hips high, really engaging that core and pushing the mat away from you. Now let's crunch that knee in towards that right elbow. Crunch, crunch. Really strong, engaged whole body here. Pushing those hips away to the mat. It's okay if you lose your balance. And release back down. Send that right leg back, one-legged chaturanga. Inhale into upward facing dog. And let's do one deep exhale into that downward facing dog. Excellent. Take a deep inhale. And exhale, stretch those heels to the mat. One more deep inhale. Exhale. Now let's roll forward into high plank. And we're just going to start gently shifting our weight forward and back. Maybe doing some light circles here, using those feet and those toes to push your weight forward, so shoulders coming over your wrists, and then back. Keep a really strong core here to keep those hips from coming too high. Now we're going to drive that right knee in, and we're going to do knee squares. So right armpit, left wrist, right wrist. So tap it, wrist, wrist, right armpit, left armpit. And then let's switch directions, pushing the mat away as you come up to the armpits, and then allowing your pelvis to sink forward as you tap it to your wrists. Now let's pause a moment and just start shifting our weight back and forth, using your left toes to drive this movement. Then send the left leg back, drop onto your knees and into this modified child's pose. We're just giving our wrists and our arms a little rest before we continue this movement on the other side. So take a nice deep inhale. And then exhale, let's roll forward, come up into that high plank again. Drive that left knee in now and go wrist, wrist, right armpit, left armpit, left wrist, right armpit, left armpit, left wrist, right wrist. Awesome job. Now let's switch directions. Right wrist, left armpit, right armpit. Really driving that knee up, pushing the mat away as you come up, and then sinking down again. Now let's start just swaying back and forth again. This continued movement is what really makes this challenging. Excellent job. Now you can release your knees to the mat, and we're going to just stretch it forward into extended puppy. So give your arms a nice little rest. Allow your chest to sink forward towards the mat. Deep inhale and exhale. Now let's round forward once again, and we're just going to start shaking out those arms. That's a really upper body intensive exercise, and we're just going to give them a little shake and a little rest before we dive right into our next ab exercise. So with our knees by our wrists, let's pull them up to those armpits so hips go high. We're keeping onto the back of our feet, so back of those toes. Slowly lower those knees down and exhale as you push those hips high, driving those knees towards your armpits. Again, we're keeping our weight on the back of our toes, which makes this a little more challenging. Engage those abs as you pull those hips high. Now remain high and see if you can just do a slight butt tap here. So tapping that heel towards your glutes. Keeping high this whole time, pushing your hands into the mat, pushing those shoulders away, and tap, tap. Excellent job. Now let's extend those legs back, still on the back of our toes, and slowly, slowly lower down to the mat. We're going to set ourselves up for cobra pose. So press the back of those feet into the mat, press those legs into the mat, and use your back muscles to rise off the mat before slowly lowering back down. Engage the back to rise up, really making this movement using the back muscles instead of the arms. Slowly lower down. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, release. Rise up and release. Excellent job. Let's tent those arms, and we're just going to start wiggling and waving our body back and forth into this funky cobra. So rise up, waving the body back and forth, this time using your arms and the back muscles to pull yourself up. And then back down, just kind of doing a wave, whatever feels good with your body, shifting your weight back and forth between your arms. Now let's engage our back and our glutes to lift our arms and our legs off the mat, cactusing those arms, and then extend those arms overhead, legs still together. Now cactus those arms, spread those legs, before bringing them together for Superman pose again. Continue this movement with your own breath, taking a deep inhale as you cactus those arms and spread those legs, and exhale as you come into Superman pose. One last one. Hold here before releasing, reaching your arms back to grab those ankles into bow pose. Keep those ankles engaged so those legs flexed. Pull your heart open here, gaze forward, engaging those glutes, knees squeezing towards each other before releasing back down. Excellent job. Let's take a deep inhale into upward facing dog. And then exhale, let's send those hips back into downward facing dog. Deep inhale. And then exhale, stretch those heels to the mat. When you're ready, we're going to extend that right leg out long and then tuck it under the body, setting yourself up for high crescent lunge. Let's take a deep inhale, arms up to the sky. And then we're going to just pulse our legs. So pulse that right leg, feeling a burning through the quad muscles. Pulse, 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 pulse. Awesome job. Couple more. And then we pause here. Let's drive that left leg forward. Grab your foot and slowly pistol squat down if you can. Drop your butt to the mat and fold forward into that left leg. And then when you're ready, see if you can lift back up, balancing only on your right leg. See if you can do this with no hands. And then flip your grip, bringing that left leg behind the body now for this half moon posture with a nice hip opener, really breathing life into that hip flexor. Let's hold a moment before releasing that foot into the full half moon pose. And then when you're ready, keep the half moon stance and see if you can bring your arms overhead. So release your hands off the mat and just hover here one moment before dropping back down and setting yourself up for warrior two. Strong right leg. Let's flip that right hand, stretching over to the left side in this revolved pose. Bring it back. Warrior two, and then extend into this side angle pose. Before dropping our hands to the mat, let's bring that right arm up high, right leg stacked on top of the left. We're going to do some thread the needles in high plank. So right arm to the sky and thread it under the body and then back up. Thread it under the body and back up, trying to maintain your balance here. Pause at the top. Let's come into high plank, chaturanga. Inhale into upward facing dog, and then exhale, send your hips back into downward facing dog. Connect with your breath once again. We're going to prepare to continue this sequence on the other side. So let's extend that left leg long out and back, and then bring it under the body before rising up into this high crescent lunge. Inhale those arms up to the sky, and then exhale. Let's start pulsing those legs again. So pulse that left leg, pulse, 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 feeling the burning through that quad muscle, trying to keep that back knee just slightly bent, but not too much. Let's drive that right leg forward now. Grab onto that foot and slowly pistol squat down if you can. Drop down onto the mat. Fold into that right knee. And then let's pop back up. See if you can rise back up. You may notice one of your legs is stronger than the other. In this case, this is my weak side, but if you can do it, that's great. Let's flip that grip now. Drop that left hand to the mat into this half moon variation with the hip opener. Breathe through this posture here before releasing that leg. Half moon pose. Nice strong stance. See if you can bring those hands up, hovering now. Hips still open in that half moon stance before dropping back down and entering into warrior two. Gaze over your left fingertips. Let's flip that grip and stretch it over to the right side before releasing back, and then bring it over for side angle pose. Deep inhale. And then exhale, let's release down, setting yourself up into that side plank once again. Stacking that left leg over the right. We're going to thread the needle once again. So thread that left arm under the body and then back up. Trying to keep pushing the mat away, keeping your hips nice and high. Thread it under and then back up. And let's release down now. This time we're gonna walk our feet in and set ourselves up for crow pose. So wrap those triceps towards each other, elbows parallel. Let's see if we can rest our knees onto our triceps and pull our heels up towards our glutes. Gaze forward, nice bend in those elbows, and then release back down. Let's try this one more time. So we're gonna wrap our triceps around, so bring those elbows wide and then tuck them towards each other. Stand up high, bring those knees as close to the armpits as you can, resting them on your triceps, and pull those heels up towards your glutes. Gaze forward before jumping back into chaturanga if you can. Let's take a deep inhale into upward facing dog, and then exhale, send your hips back, downward facing dog. Let's take this moment to connect with our breath once again. Deep inhale and exhale. Let's bring that right leg forward, setting ourselves up for pigeon pose. So tucking that right heel towards your left hip, squaring your hips to the mat. And then let's sink forward onto our forearms now. We're just going to gently sway the weight in our hips back and forth. So sway that pelvis side to side, just feeling a little stretch through the hip flexor, stretch through the hip. And really notice where you're feeling this stretch. Maybe you're feeling it more in your glutes, in that hip flexor. If you want, you can reach your right arm back to grab that left ankle. Breathing a little more life into that hip flexor. Let's just start to unwind the body. Let's release now. This time, drop that left shoulder to the mat, stretching that left arm over to the right, and bind that right arm behind the body if you can. Once again, taking this time to breathe and find stillness. And let's release. This time, bringing that left leg forward now, crossing it over the right, and then let's take a nice stretch over to the left side, so right elbow on the left knee. Deep inhale and exhale. Let's return to center, this time dropping that left leg down now for pigeon pose. Extending that right leg long beside the body. Let's square those hips with the front of the mat. Come onto our forearms. And then once again, start rocking back and forth on those hips. Really paying attention to just what feels good for you in this moment. Maybe taking a moment to sit in one position a little bit longer over another if it feels good. Feel free to outstretch that left arm to grab that right ankle if you'd like. Breathing a little bit more into that hip flexor. And when you're ready, you can release that foot. Let's drop our right arm and right shoulder to the mat and send that left arm behind the body in a nice bind. Allow your eyelids to close if you'd like. Once again, just try to find stillness. And when you're ready, you can slowly release out of this posture. Rise back up and let's swing that right leg around now, dropping it over on the other side of the left leg. And let's stretch it over to the right side. So left elbow pushing into that right knee. Breathe life into the side body here. Take a deep inhale and exhale. And we can release our arms. Let's keep our legs in this position. So keep that right leg crossed over the left and slowly come onto our backs in this reclined pigeon pose. So keep that right foot flexed here and use your arms to pull that left leg in, really feeling this stretch through the right hip and glute. Now we can release our legs, this time crossing the left ankle over the right quad and pulling that right leg in closer, allowing us to get a deep stretch through that left hip and glute. Keeping both of those feet flexed. Just put enough pressure that you feel that good stretch through that glute and hip. But if you're feeling any pain, feel free to back off a little bit. And we can release our legs, this time clasping the outer edges of our feet and pulling those knees in towards our armpits for happy baby pose. If you'd like, you can gently rock back and forth, gently on your spine. Just giving yourself a nice little spinal massage here. As we unwind from today's practice. Feeling the movement as you roll over your vertebrae, gently from side to side. Now let's release our legs and come into Shavasana. So get yourself in a comfortable pose. Allow yourself to fully release into the mat. Feeling gravity pull you down. Allow yourself to feel heavy with every exhale. Releasing deeper into the mat. Once again, bring your attention to your breath, almost observing the oxygen as it enters into your body before exhaling it out. I want you to take this moment to find gratitude for your body, for all the amazing things it does for you. And let's vow to never take it for granted. Now allow yourself to drift into a peaceful stillness. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Please subscribe for more yoga videos every Sunday.